In the previous lesson video, you learned about the object-oriented programming idea of inheritance. So over the next couple of videos, we're going to walk through the process of creating a program using inheritance and implementing in this idea to your C# code. So here I've sketched out just a quick program that manages the contact information and some of the other information needed for employees in a business. So if I'm going to create this base class and derived class relationship, I would start with my base class, which I named employee. I would then create some derived classes. Remember, the base class is the general, whereas the derived classes are more specific. And so each one of the derived classes that I would create would be for a specific type of employee. So in this case, I have full-time employees and part-time employees. I could go deeper and create derived classes underneath these, making effectively new base classes, but for the sake of this example, we're just going to stick with the two. So once you have the idea of which objects you want and how they relate to each other in the inheritance hierarchy, the next phase would be to define the properties that go inside of them. So the employee class, since it is the more specific, should contain information that both the full-time class and the part-time class inherit from. So this would be information that all employees need. So maybe it's a first name, a last name, and a phone number. I would then think about what makes full-time employees different from part-time employees. They're going to inherit all of the information from the employee base class, but they can add on and create new functionality by extending what is already happening in the employee class. So maybe my full-time employees have a salary rate, whereas my part-time employees have an hourly rate. Full-time employees may have a number of vacation days, but part-time employees don't have vacation days, so I wouldn't add a property for them. You can see how by defining what goes in each class, we can get very specific with the details as to what makes that particular object different than other objects in the same hierarchy. You can also see that through the idea of a base class, we can add all of the information that would apply to all employees without having to duplicate our efforts. So if the employee class is holding the information for first name and last name, then we don't also need those properties in full-time or part-time because they're going to inherit those from their base class. So this is the steps that you would go through when planning out your application, determining not just the objects that you're going to need, but what are the properties inside of them and how does each one differ or build upon the next. In the next video, we're going to look at how to code in your inherited objects and see how C# handles the ideas of constructors and properties through this idea of inheritance.